All right. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. We go 90 minutes of intellectual conversation with fathers, talking about topics and subjects that affect us in our community and our families. If you haven't done so, please like, share, subscribe. Tell somebody that the think tank is on. Tell them to join in. We would love to hear from other fathers tonight. Tonight we have a very um, thoughtful topic tonight. Tonight's topic, I think this is one also that came from Tay. I'm glad to see him here tonight. I just saw a quote that said, "I don't know if I'm strong or numb," and I've seen a lot of comments earlier today when I was putting this out, and people were very interested in that. Even people making comments. I think I'm brother Donald, if he's out there watching, or if he's coming into the room, we definitely want you to keep you in mind, brother, because if you're feeling that way, that's why we want to have that conversation today. I'm Dr. Ron, the curator of the Fatherhood Think Tank, and let's introduce our other fathers that are here. We're going to participate in this conversation tonight.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ed Tenney. I am transitioning to a single dad of three grown children, uh, one grandbaby, one on the way, and I'm glad to be here tonight.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen, or good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, um, 3 young women, 4 young men, a granddaughter, and a grandson. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, y'all can hear me? Okay. What's good, y'all? Tay, father of 3, 6, 5, and 6, 5, and 3, and also the host of the Our Own Opinions podcast on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay, so let me first start by like boy, if you would start off with that comment that you put in the chat about that song. I never heard that song before, and so we can kind of start there. Is that
Oh, yeah, it's a very popular, I believe it's a popular late 70s, early 80s Pink Floyd song. And you guys will probably be familiar with Pink Floyd because he's it's the group that sings um, Leave Those Kids Alone. We don't need no education. Don't. Well, nonetheless, they made a song called Comfortably Numb. The song is about, I guess, if I was going from a biblical sense or a spiritual sense, it's about having an idle mind or being idle. Um, in a natural sense or the scientific sense, I guess it's about arriving, like you have nothing more to accomplish. It's like I have arrived. And I think being comfortably numb, what it looks like um, from an individual standpoint, it's the place where a married man would probably have an affair, right? It's or a married woman would probably have an affair. It's that place where you feel like that particular relationship or that particular job, that particular anything in any relationship in your life, be it job, work, personal, whatever, has peaked, even spiritual. And so that's you may see people changing marriages, you may see people changing jobs, you will even see people changing churches. And so we start to hop around because we are unfulfilled. So I guess being comfortably numb is this essence of being, or the definition of being unfulfilled. And it's not so much that relationship that you were in peaked or maxed out, right? It's the fact that you may have ran out of things to give to it. And so when a person runs out of things to give to a relationship, they begin to run out on those relationships as well. And this is why you see so many relationships hopping, marriage hopping, church hopping, job hopping, stuff like that. And that's when you become comfortably numb, because in a certain instance, you don't feel fulfilled, and you lost a purpose to feel. You understand? Or a purpose to fulfill. And so that's just my my take on the definition or the understanding of being comfortably numb.
Hey,
Definitely.
somebody say something?
No,
Waiting
that's
on you.
true. We was waiting on you. Said
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I just want to put on my 2 cents of what made me think of this quote. Well, actually, I kind of like seen it actually, because I'm gonna get ready to start back working. But not so. So, what made me think of this quote was well, what made me like the quote when I read it. It had hit me because I always tell people, like, I like to say, like, I've been through enough and not a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people say they've been through a lot. I just be like, I just like to say I've been through enough. Definitely at my young old age of turning 33 next month. And I just like it just to the point now where it's like I just don't I don't care. Like, if somebody want to, like, it's just like if somebody want to do me wrong or want to try to pull a fast one on me, or it's just like, man, if that's how you view life, or if I'm tired of trying to help people. It's just like, I'm just like, man, I just don't know, like, if am I just numb to this, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying. And I think that's what, to me, that's why, like, when I read the quote, like, it hit, like, as oh, give me 1 second, I don't know. Oh, sorry.
you
Tay,
call
just
that?
Hello,
listen.
hello.
Yeah, we here. We can hear you.
Hello, did I break?
We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear
Oh,
you.
okay, so, okay, yeah. No, sorry, yeah. Yeah, so now what I was saying was, like, yeah, so the quote saying, I don't know whether I'm just strong or just numb, is because, like I say, me personally, I just been through, like, enough. Not a lot. I've been through enough. So to the point where, just like, just my mindset is just like, yo, people done have said and done so much things to me, things I experienced. Now I'm understanding that I should not have experienced those things at that age, or this person should not have did this to me. So it's like, now I'm just to the point where, like, I don't even know if I'm just strong, to the point where I'm just strong minded, or to the point where it's just like, man, excuse my language, but, man, that shit don't even hurt no more. Like, if that's the way that you want to live your life, that's on you. Like, helping people and that don't want to be helped, I'm over all that. So I say, like I said, I think that's, to me, that's where the quote come from. It's like, do you think you're strong to the point where like you just strong minded to the point where you're not gonna lash out no more, or do you think you're just numb to the point where it's just like, man, it done happened so many times that I don't even feel that no more. And, like, that's just where I came from when I read the quote, it hit me so hard. I was just like, man, because I didn't even know. I probably still don't know, to be honest with you. I think I'm probably too young to know, but I don't know whether I'm just strong minded, or I'm just numb to everything. So you know that's why I feel about it. That's it.
Can I jump in on that? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah,
I got
you
We
know
can
how
hear
we
you.
do
about
it.
2 minutes,
You
5
asking
minutes.
permission. You know better than that.
Good evening, brothers. Good evening. Yes. Much like Tay said, the quote was very interesting. Am I numb or am I just strong, or is it the other way around? I think, especially as men, just in my personal experience, sometimes when I've gone through certain things, and I remember going through, I think, toughest time was the divorce, uh, where as I was just moving through life, I didn't know if I was just numb or I was strong and pushing through and seeing it through, as we say in the illustrious Omega. And sometimes you don't really know. you want to portray, and the outside world may see it as, oh, he's strong, he's pushing through, he's still showing up, we still, despite what he's going through, we still see in his face he's persevering. And inside we're like, man, I don't even feel this, I'm just here, you know, I'm here, I'm hearing what they're saying, but am I really contributing? And for some people, you know, the outside world might say, well, your mere presence is enough, you don't really have to say much. But are you really receiving from it by being there? Because sometimes when you're going through certain things, you just show up because you're supposed to show up. Because if people don't see you, they're like, oh, he must be really taking it hard, you know, and oh, he must be really going through. And you may be, but what you show up to stop that noise. And I guess sometimes it's not for us, but for the outside world to not think that we are crumbling. So that's a strong part. But in actuality, we're inside, you know, most times just numb to it. Because if you don't numb yourself to it, whatever that particular thing is, you may react in a certain way in a moment where someone says something while you're being strong on the outside. Someone may say something to trigger that strongness or that weak part that's inside, and all of a sudden you went from being strong to looking, oh, you need to be home, you need to take a break, you might want to take a few days off or a few weeks off and step back. You might want to go see a therapist, go see Dr. Osborne, because clearly you ain't dealing with this right. Because in that moment while you are being strong, somebody triggered something when you were actually being numb, and you lost it. If that makes
Then they gotta come see.
Then they gotta go see Dr. Osborne. So
no,
and then they gotta come see me, the lawyer, because they done lost it. So yeah, I think oftentimes we are portraying to the outer world strength, and then inside we're just being numb to it, because the fact is we are still human, and oftentimes as men we get overlooked because we're supposed to, as we say at the end, carry our families and our children on our backs. And when we're going through it and dealing with our time, it's like if we show, sadly, a moment of, you know, weakness or sadness or whatever it may be, you know, we and it's so funny, your woman might not even look at you that way, the right way. Like you might not, I'm not even talking about like you're going through a difficult time, whatever that may be, and you can't even say, love, I'm having a difficult time. And when you know, because they may react a certain way. And one thing I've learned in relationships I've been in the past, oftentimes, and I don't know about you gentlemen, but when you're speaking to a woman that you may care about and you share something where you are vulnerable, that's the good word, vulnerable, all of a sudden you're no longer like you lose some level of manliness with them. And a lot of times for us, that's why we portray the strength when in actuality we're numb of what we're going through. At least that's been my personal experience. And there's some days when I am strong because there's certain things you're pushing through on, but a lot of times you're just so numb in that moment that I think, you know, you're portraying strength to the outside world, but you're just numb inside. And I think that's the conundrum of that situation, because you want to not be strong, but you put it out there so that the world everybody doesn't have a pity party for you when you're going through your time. And that's my thoughts on it as the attorney at law.
The pity party. I mean, I think that is a part of what happens and why we sometimes mistake our strength. Our people mistake our strength when it may really be despair, right? It may be the numbness. It may be not really being able to cope, but we realize that people won't say you need help or can I help you? They're going to look at you in the affirmative, right? They're going to be like, you're being weak. You're not. And I use this example so much when I think about fatherhood, right? Like I was speaking to somebody today and we was talking about the fathers and their children, and that, you know, none of the relationships kind of worked with the fathers of their children. And I asked the question, and I think they had never even thought about that, you know, because maybe those guys wanted to have a relationship with you, but didn't want to have a father. Now they didn't do what they need to do to not have a father, and in some cases, between the fathers, that the person's fathers, one stepped up and said, well, I'm just going to do what I got to do, and they've been a good father. And the other one just jumped, fell off the earth, right? Nowhere to be found. Already was non-connected, but even having some complications with childbirth and this and that, and the child having some difficulties, completely just became the invisible man, right? And then you see that, another father, he then wasn't even planning to become a father, but they have a good relationship because he doesn't have a choice other than to be a good man. And so he's being a good man, and that ultimately ends up making him have to do the things to be a good father. And it's funny because I was speaking to the person, they was saying, hey, they have a really good relationship with their fathers, their children's fathers. And I said, maybe because you're not demanding anything on them other than that, when you see someone feel like they provide for the children, and you don't bother that. You like, as long as you provide for your child, good. And obviously one of them provide for the other child that the dad ain't providing for. So they doing double good. So, they a top tier co-parent. And I was able to introduce that idea, is that, you have two very good co-parents and one really not good. One who is just actually missing in action. But why? I'm coming back to the point of, why do these guys get into this point? Because probably the one father couldn't take the pressure of having to be that father. He already was not together. Now there's another thing. Now this is put on him, and it pushed him to even be more off the rock.
Agreed.
Where because he couldn't handle the idea. We see this a lot when we look at guys who have a lot of alcoholism, drug abuse, even some of the promiscuous behaviors and things that we see sometimes in fathers. It's all due to not being able to man up to the situation. It's a better escape. That's an escape technique. Because if I'm a drunk, I can't provide anything for nobody. So let me keep on being a drunk, and I don't have to live up or man up to the expectation, because you don't want no drunk to ride the kid around in the car. So you're gonna tell me I can't be around the kid. And I ain't never gonna fight, and I ain't gonna stop drinking, so I don't have to. And so, but that's a strange dynamic we have as men, to not be able to say, I'm not okay with having to have this child. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I need you as a person who's going to co-parent, help me. And that's the first thing you can imagine, a man telling a woman, I don't know what we're going to do to have this child, because the history has said you need to know what to do, because you're the man, and correct. You need to make. But when we see couples who get married, that's not how they operate in that. That's not how family married couples operate. They don't say, you're the man, you need to figure it all out. We have to. It's us. Yes. Have to figure out how we're going to manage this kid and what's going to happen. But it doesn't operate that way when the people are not in unison, as I like to say, and when they're not in the right progression of child rearing. Child rearing takes two people, and it takes not just two people to do it, but it takes two people to plan to continue it.
Good point. Like one, Tenny, I know y'all got something to say on this. I might have missed out on what y'all said earlier. Please forgive me.
I'm definitely waiting on Tenny, then I'll come back.
So I identify with almost everything you said, Brother Johnny. Regarding the uh, uh, you know dealing with the strength of things, and I identify with you, Liborn, as well, regarding the numbness of things. So, given like if I had a choice, I would kind of rather be a show of strength versus a show of or the weakness of being numb. I think being numb is a weakness because you feel no pain. When you're numb, there's nothing that's telling you to do something different or to engage. When you're numb, there's nothing. Um, Given my recent situation, I feel like uh, I have been at the most weakest point of my entire life. I never would have expected, you know, to be uh, uh, in this situation that has weakened me. However, um, enduring has given rise to strength. Um, I kind of liken it to I do a lot of resistance training when I do my workout, and they always tell you you want to um, exercise whatever muscle group until the point of weakness. And it's not until you get to that point of weakness that your muscle fibers break down, and then you give yourself some rest. Your muscles begin to build. Then you're stronger after you've been challenging your muscles to fatigue. So I see this situation that I've been going through as kind of like resistance training for my spirit, if you will. And it's given me the ability to understand that, yeah, in certain circumstances, man, I'm weak, I'm vulnerable, I've cried, I've emoted, I've done all these different things. But as I continue to go through this storm, because I still feel like I'm in the storm, as I continue to go through the storm, I am getting stronger and stronger because I'm kind of recognizing what this storm has to dish out. So, but if I were numb, I don't think I'd be growing as an individual. My spirit man, I don't believe will be growing. My ability to be able to take a step back and analyze and logically look at different things. When I was at my weakest point, I didn't have that ability. But as I've uh, uh, come through the storm, I've been able to push against the winds to, uh, you know, uh, put up my, umbrella so I can withstand the rains. I'm learning how to adapt. I'm learning how to overcome. I'm learning about my own personal spirit man. And so in that respect, I feel like I'm getting stronger. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I know that I have the um, spiritual fortitude, if you will, to be able to hang in there. And I know that once I'm on the other side, I am going to be a completely different individual than I was before all of this even transpired. So when I look at numbness, I'd rather not be numb. And Ron, you mentioned guys who want to numb themselves with drugs or alcohol or something like that. There's no growth in that. However, an individual who stands up strong in their husbandry, who stands up strong in their fatherhood, who stands up strong in all things related to their manhood, they will begin to see how much they can actually lift. And it's probably a lot more than what they thought they could had they not been able to go through that resistance. So I appreciate your brother's testimony, because I think you guys are right on target with regards to the numbness, and the strength, Brother Johnny. So I appreciate that.
And thank you so much, Teddy. And again, I value your strength. I'm inspired by it every time you come on the show. Actually, look forward to it. Don't ask me. I'll be looking forward to seeing you. Then Johnny Gasbar second. But
so, where Dr. Where Rod at? Rod third in that?
I don't have to be anywhere because I'm gonna be here regardless.
Rod have to be here.
He don't have to hope to see me. If he don't see me, he won't see nothing.
Right. But you know what? I was thinking as we were talking, and as it pertained to strength and numbness, one of the first signs of heart attacks. And one of the first signs of heart attacks is numbness in the arm. And so if you can catch that first sign of heart attack and stroke, which is the numbness in the arm, then you can prevent the heart attack. I think the same thing that works for our individual or single bodies work for the collective body that we're attached to, which is called relationships. And so because of those relationships, I think the relationships, a lot of our relationships suffer from heart attacks because we don't pay attention to the numbness in the arms of those relationships and things like that. And unfortunately, I have friends who didn't pay attention, even myself, but not as severe as the friends I'm thinking about, who didn't pay attention to the numbness in the arms of their relationships, and it end up, killing their significant other. And so with that, I think we have to understand what relationship is first. And so I think oftentimes we try to define stuff before we actually find what it is we're trying to define. You got to be able to identify a thing. You understand? Before you can really define what it is that you just found. And so with that, we don't, even the relationships we in, and I remember this with my son's mother, God rest her soul. We was the best of friends before she passed. But after we broke up, and when you become friends, y'all can kick it like that, because now y'all can talk about what you did and what you didn't do freely, because y'all no longer in the relationship. So you can spill the tea about, your relationship that y'all no longer in. And so we had been broken up. We had to establish this really strong relationship after the fact, and this strong co-parenting thing. And so I said something to her, and which I didn't think she was going to really get that mad, right? But I guess it was really true when I said it. So I told her, I said, you know what? I realized after breaking up in this relationship, I realized that people don't really. Remember, I told you got to find something before you could define it. I think we was trying to define what we found. So we defined the relationship before we actually found the relationship. And so I said, I'm saying that to say this. I said, we never made a contract. We had no understanding that we was going to be exclusive to each other. There was nothing. We just started having sex and just automatically assumed that we was exclusive. We never sat down and had a kind of a conversation about it. We never came to an understanding about it. We just said, you know what? Since we're having sex, we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. And that's how the relationship came about. We had a child, and that's how the family came about. I said, so imagine building your family on that principle. And why did I say that? Oh, I call her per the hell. Because my son's mother is a very bright, intelligent woman, but she can also be an unreasonable woman. You understand? Because sometimes when and it's not that I was trying to put no fault out, because I'm like, no, I'm actually explaining me and you and what we don't need to do after me and you. Let's approach this thing different. And so I think because we do a lot of things instinctively, we don't do any, our relationships are not intentional. Our relationships are more instinctive than intentional. And because of that, we go through these long instinctive relationships with no understanding of whence the relationship came. You understand how it was even established? Did we even understand what we were getting into? Or did we even agree to get into this, what we're into?
Right.
And so now we have, and so the relationship was numb to begin with. Because, and just because it has feeling, remember, it has feeling, but guess what? A heart attack has feeling too. And the only time we identify the feeling or can respect the numbness in the arm is when the heart attack hits. And that's what happened in a lot of relationships. When it's instinctive, they're not intentional. And so when you if you ask the average person right now, with your relationship that you're in, was it instinctive or was it intentional? You understand? And then I might cause some rips because now people have to come to grips of, wow, I never reevaluated my relationships. And I might have been in this thing for 10, 20 years. But we never really came to no understanding of who we are and how we're going to get to where we need to be with who we are. And now you have a child who probably don't know who he is because y'all didn't understand who you were to begin with. So, I mean, talking about this numbness and how numbness can lead to heart attacks, I think most relationships, when you talk about the divorce rates, the divorce rate is the heart attack of relationships because we never understood the numbness that began with.
You know, Lightborn, you using some. I mean, I love how this conversation turned into kind of metaphoric conversation, right? And that how we're describing certain things, the reference relationship or how things occur with us and our partners. But you said something there that was so important that I think that really many of the fathers we need to evaluate and think about how we get it. Because that's the same in this conversation I was having with a person today. That was the same thing. It was like they didn't plan to do anything. Next thing they knew, they was having a child together. They was just being friends, and attraction happens. And what would we say in a disaster? And I think this is what you were saying, like, now since it's over, we can go back and do a postmortem of what happened and why it happened, and use that to build for future relationships, future situations, for both of us and for individually in the next moves that we make. But sometimes we're not. Most people are not willing to look at the disaster because they don't want to be accountable for building a disastrous thing, right? So
their part in it.
Right. Bingo. If we build a building and I had all cheap concrete that was crepe paper, and Tenny had the steel to go in the building, and Lightborn, you had the glass, and when the building fell down, for us just to say, well, the building fell down, no, we would go back and say, what was the cause of this so it doesn't happen to the next building we try to build? Yeah. But it's very hard for us as human beings sometimes to do, because I feel all the time we would rather be on the favorable part of that. Most of the stuff I perceive that I do is right, and I don't want to ever be a bad guy. And then the second part is being able to hold some accountability for the part that I did play. Because sometimes people play listen, when you're thinking about these relationships and how they fail or don't work out, people will say, oh, the person did this. This is why it didn't work out. And so often I have a difficulty with that, because that means that you had no culpability in anything that happened in that relationship. That person drove the whole relationship, and then when the tires fell off, you say, oh, well, I just sat in the car blind with my hands tied, and I was just driving in the car.
I was just riding along.
Right. But if the relationship is successful, you won't accept the same, that this person did everything to make this relationship work and happen. You'll say, I did something too. So it goes into that thing. We don't want to take the good with the bad, the happy with the sad. Easy come, easy go.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, if you know that quote of that, what I just said, You have to be an old school player to know that. Take the good with the bad, happy with the sad, easy come, easy go.
Yes, indeed. Well, no, I listen. I've been listening to everything you said, and I'm the mindset that you either win or you learn, but you never lose. And the only way you're going to learn in a situation that didn't turn out the way you hoped it would is if you do. And I love how y'all been using these medical terms. First light bulb with that heart attack with a numb, and then you pour some mortar and all of that. I'm like, okay, we got some doctors, we got some medical people in this thing. No, but the only way you're able to go back and truly, hopefully, be better the next time for you. And even when you're not with the person or not having a friendship with the person, relationship wise, you can still do your own evaluation. What part did you play? Because you're right, Dr. Osborne, no matter how bad that person may have done whatever thing they did to potentially lead to the end of the relationship, there may have been something you did that led them to behave the way they did that led to the end of the action. Whether it be something you intentionally did or something you did not do. Oftentimes when I'm praying, I pray God for those things that he asked for and those things he asked us not to do. So those are two things. So sometimes there are things that you failed to do in a relationship that caused it to break down, and sometimes there are things you did do that caused it to break down. But the only way you're able to deal with that or look back on it and talking about when the relationship ends, because as Lightborn said, sometimes when you initially get that numb feeling, then you get the heart attack, and then you're forever numb. Fortunately, in relationships, even in that numbness after the heart attack, aka the end of the relationship, the numbness thereafter, thank God you're still breathing. So you have a chance, and now in this situation, to prayerfully learn from it so that you don't go through that same situation again. And being strong through that, as we talked about, and the difference between the two is really in that moment after the end of the relationship, whatever that may be, or having a difficult time where you're no longer in relation with the mother of your child. You still have to be some level of available for, if you are a father, to be there for your child. So even though you're numb in reference to what may have happened, you still got to be strong for the child. So, and I say all of that to come back to saying that even in your numbness, there still has to be some strength that you're reflecting, because there are others that's dependent on you to still push through, to still be available, to still be present, whether that's in your home or on your job, because you still got to show up. You still got to do what you're supposed to do to make it work, maybe not for yourself, but for someone else. So I think a lot of times when we're dealing with whether or not the question, I don't know if I'm strong or numb, sometimes you are both in that moment. You know, you are actually encompassing both of those ideals at the same time, because you're one, like I said, not necessarily dealing with the issue that may have caused the heart attack, but you're being present because you know you need to be there for that, whoever that person may be, yourself, the job, whatever the situation may be. So I think it could be a combination of both simultaneously, where you're both strong and numb at the same time, depending on what you're dealing with. That's just another thing I looked at as y'all were talking that blew my mind, that you could be both at the same time.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Tini. Hey, Tini, I'm going to keep pulling you. So go ahead, Tini. I'm going to go after you every time.
Dude, I got nothing. I'm just listening to the wisdom. Yeah, I agree with you, Brother Johnny, that you can be both, because I do remember at certain points going through just feeling numb, just not feeling anything. So, you know, I guess I could use the metaphor of like if you bang your shin on something, you know, all of a sudden you feel the initial pain, the initial shock. Then after a while, all of a sudden it starts going numb because of, you know, the injury. So I get that you can be both. Um, I would also add that wisdom would help you understand that although the numbness is kind of protecting you from the initial pain. However, you want to add ice, you want to do all these things to make it better so that you can feel again and then get back into whatever it takes for you to be stronger.
That's a word right there.
If you continue to remain numb, you are oblivious to, and you're also incapacitated, basically, to be able to be stronger, to get in that position where you can determine how strong you can be and how much you can lift emotionally, how much you can lift mentally, how much you can lift. You need to be able to understand how far you can go, and if you're not exercising that, you have no idea. Just a quick scenario of my own personal training. When I first started out, I was so weak. I couldn't do anything. I remember starting to do push-ups. There was a point where I could only do like 5 push-ups. So then I said to myself, well, I'm going to make sure I do no less, but I'm going to try and do one more. So it got to the point where I could only do 5. But I would strive to do that one more. And eventually I got to 6. Then I would do no less than 6. I would strive to do more and more and more and more. Now it's to the point where, I can drop and give you 35, 40 push-ups, in a set. And it took years, I'm telling you, years to be able to get to that point. So you need to be able to exercise your ability to go through stuff to be able to, be stronger. If you're numb, it's not beneficial. It's beneficial for a time, I guess, but ultimately it's not beneficial.
Ain't lying about that. Because if you got what they call it, ice freezer burn, what I think when your feet and your toes and your fingers are cold, so what they call that?
Frostbite.
Yeah, you numb because you ain't feeling nothing in that. People ask you, you're numbing that, but at the end of the day, that's detrimental to your health. You want to be able to feel that. So I 100% agree that sometimes in your being numb, it is definitely detrimental, and you want to be able to put ice on it, or in that case, put warmth on it slowly but surely, so you can begin to feel again, so you can get back where you need to be and get strong. Because in feeling, you're now strong. Wow. Yes. In feeling, you are now strong again, where when you were numb, you were very, very weak. And sometimes people want to stay numb. And not that they want to stay weak, they just want to stay numb, but not understanding in that numbness it is weakness.
And I love that when he said that you want to feel again, because that's absolutely true. That will be the end goal. That's the part at the end of the rainbow type of thing, because anybody, even if they don't want to feel again, they still would need to feel again. You understand? So whether you want it or not, you understand, the cure is to feel again. And some people, I think, me included too, I think we just would like to just go ahead and hide in our injuries. Or in some cases, just like most people, particularly most men, hide our injuries. Or we're notorious for hiding our injuries.
Think I had the saying, huh?
Right.
Yeah, we're not supposed to show weakness.
Exactly. So just hide your injury. Yeah. Just, And like, even I think male dogs do it, right? When male dogs get ready to die, they go and they isolate themselves. I never knew that dog sociology or science or whatever. But I was like, that is the most interesting thing. But I'm like, wow, that's like across the male spectrum or the male species, because we're very unique creatures per se. But since we on everybody, we were playing doctors tonight.
and then Teddy go through the exercise again, another doctor thing. So I got you.
Go. He's a physical therapist.
Yes.
And so when I'm thinking about this, and I was thinking, you know what? Coincidentally, and happy heavenly belated birthday to my late the late mother of my son Anthony, which is his mother was named Gertha Guerrier. And so with that, and I learned so much from her in that relationship because we started playing house at we started playing house about 2021 maybe when we moved in. My first time ever moving out, her first time moving out, living with with a guy, and her first time ever having a kid. Period. Anthony was my second, and both of us was only children. She's an only child, and I'm an only child. So you see that storm getting ready to brew. Nonetheless, I was thinking about a song what BBD had saying that girl is poison, right? That girl is poison, something. And I thought about it because when I think about her relationship and the marriage I'm in right now, right? Here I am when she was my girlfriend, right? She could have been classified or stereotyped as poison, right? But then one thing I realized about poison is poison actually, and never knew this until I saw it on TV. Poison is actually some poisonous actually has the remedy for the antidote. So she was poisoned when me and her were girlfriend and boyfriend, but she became the antidote when I got married to my wife. Because when me and my wife would get into a disagreement, she'll call her up and they'll talk and she'll say, let me tell you how you deal with this part. Because I done been there. You understand? I done experienced that poisonous part of our relationship. And let me show you how to become the antidote in your marriage. And so even in our relationship, or we had poison moments in our relationships, we both, that's the importance of learning from it. She became showing my wife how to reach or create the antidote in our marriage. You understand? So, and it goes to show, because none of your relationships are wasted. And just like when we talk about numbness and how numbness of the arms can lead to heart attacks, what we don't talk about is people actually survive heart attacks. And so when we hear heart attacks, we think instant death. But the reality is people actually survive heart attacks. And so if we see relationships that fail as heart attacks, you got to understand that people actually survive heart attacks and become more health conscious and healthier after those heart attacks. You understand? Which leads to stronger. So it's amazing how numbness can lead to strength. You understand? The numbness that caused the heart attacks actually led to the strength for you to never have another heart attack and live a long life. You understand? And so we don't never see the survivors of the heart attacks, because we use the subject of heart attacks more so as a threat than a teaching tool. And if I think if we spoke to more people who survived heart attacks and even succeeded it, then we understand that the teachings that go along with preventing heart attacks or surviving heart attacks than supposed to succumb to one.
And to those that are listening, heart attack is a metaphor for relationship. That's what he's
or failed relationship.
Or failed relationship, yes. I don't want nobody to log on and be like, are they talking about Dr. Ron talking about heart attacks here?
No, I don't listen. I know everything is that we're saying is metaphoric and very much my area of conversation, because a lot of therapeutic stuff that I talk about is metaphoric, and it's very good because it helps us have a better understanding, because we tune into, like, you hear the word heart attack, people tune in because we have a fear of having a heart attack, because heart attacks are correlated with death. Heart attacks are correlated with someone having a stroke and then being disabled and all the things that. So our ears perk up. So a great opportunity in a conversation using this kind of language. People are saying, hey, what are they talking about? And sometimes they are now hearing exactly what we're talking about. And we're talking about the heart attack you having in that relationship that will ultimately could give you a heart attack later. See, that's the other part that we also talking about. We're talking about metaphorically heart attack, but you can be in these relationships and be this person that stays numb and never express anything going on with you or the things that's happening to you, or even ever let it out and build all of that stress up into having an aneurysm, having a heart attack, passing out and destroying some of your vital organs with that type of stress holding. One of the, people don't realize it. Again, I'm not a doctor, but a large majority of times we have seen a correlation between people who have a lot of ulcers, right? Inside ulcers, related to holding on to a lot of stress.
Yes.
And there's a correlation. It's not, and people say, well, how did I get these? Well, how did you get a lot of the stuff that we get? Stress.
Yes.
Why, I'm just gonna say something. The reason why I think large majority of black people have high blood pressure, hypertension, a lot of the things, despite no one gonna say, hey, what they eat. Well, eating is one part, but the stressful life that many of us live contributes significantly to that level. You can have a person who you see people who live perfect life. They clean inside and out, but guess what they got? They still got the stress, and the stress 10 times worse than if they was eating fat burgers every day.
True that. And I'm in a profession that's filled with that. So, one of the things that, my doctors often tell me, unfortunately, because I do suffer from hypertension, and I have to take my medication. And the doctor always said, well, your profession, unfortunately, brings that to the table as well. And because I do a lot of criminal defense work, that lends to more stress-related moments in my life. So I have to be very conscious of making sure I'm eating properly or better, working out, exercising, so that the stress that comes through work isn't multiplied with the stress of my failure to exercise or failing to eat properly, because that could easily exacerbate the situation and lead to these heart attacks that we talk about. So I'm very conscious of that. But when you're talking about relationship, even with your children, as a father, sometimes, we are numb even when we're there, because our children sometimes aren't seeing us as acting as fathers. Like, we're present, we're providing, but we're numb as far as relationship wise. So our child has no emotional connection to us. They can't come to us and say, hey, Dad, how are you doing? I just came in the door. Give me a few minutes, man. Give me a few minutes. And then the child feels, okay, I can't talk to Dad. Is that in that scenario, we are numbing that relationship, which is very important. What we need to be, and we believe it. And listen, and sometimes we're thinking we're strong because we are doing our part in making sure they got a roof over their head, food on the table, and clothes on their back. And anytime they come in and they want the new Jordans, or they want this new outfit, or they want to go some video game, we could send some money and take care of that, but we're not there emotionally. So we're numbing that part of it. So I think even in our fatherhood life, a part of our lives, we could do a better job in not necessarily being numb while we believe we're strong, by just simply showing love. And that comes from us being exposed to programs like this. And Ron, you are a doctor. You might not be a medical doctor, but you are a doctor. I just wanted to say that because you said that earlier, you weren't a doctor.
Oh, so. No, I like to tell people that I'm not a medical doctor.
Medical doctor. There you go.
But I am a mental medical doctor, so I can tell you about that part.
Very much so.
About the stress. Now, because so often is a great aspect to even turn this in. We taking this into another level. That one of the big things that when people come to us in therapy, when people come for therapy and they have like issues that they believe are mental issues, we are set to evaluate them, because a lot of times they're not mental issues, they're physical issues, and we refer them to go get a medical checkout, because sometimes some of their behaviors and some of the things they having is related to a medical problem, and that's what's causing them to have the mental issues that they have and then the problems they're occurring. So we have to be, I think that one thing as fathers, we have to be in tune to not just our work, but the work on ourselves. And that, it's like we check the balance sheet and we dot the I's and cross the T's. We have to be doing that for ourselves and our own well-being. Not just saying that, hey, I'm gonna ride this car till the wheels fall off, because again, our wheels will fall off, and a lot of times they don't fall off like the car wheels fall off. We won't even know the wheel is falling off until it's too late.
Woo. You ain't lying about that.
Dr. Ron.
Yes.
I hear you on that. And, you know, I think it's being talked about more now. But I just don't remember growing up being encouraged to work on self. As I think about it now, in this present moment, there's all this encouragement to work on self, to work on, you know, who you are, figuring out who you want to be, and all this other kind of stuff. But I tell you, it is so foreign to me to grasp some of those concepts, because I never grew up in an environment where you were taught to work on self, or even how to work on self. Mm-hmm. That's been my biggest struggle. It's like, well, Ed, you need to work on yourself. You need to go and find out who you are. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, right. Okay.
Well, you're not in that generation, right? You're not even in the generation that exists. So, and even in the generations that's present, it's so funny because I talk about this transgenerational thing, like. You wouldn't even, the best part, and I think that the larger majority of people who may even be saying that may even be your children, because they are closer to a generation where it's demanded to be, hey, look at self-care, think about yourself. It's important for you to work. Whereas people your own age be like, man, you better provide, man. You got to provide.
Get up and walk it off.
You better suck it up.
That ain't nothing, man. Listen. You felt worse than that. No, I haven't felt worse. Listen, I haven't. I'm still upset about it today. And everybody keep telling me I know something worse. It's not something worse. I am hurt by what has happened. And if I don't go get an escape. Now see, this is where it comes to we really being mindful about ourselves and how I operate as men. If I don't go get an escape, then I really have to sit in it and deal with it in ways that I have to find out how to deal with it. And I have to find a community that will accept me to deal with it in the right way that it be best beneficial to me, because everybody else will say, get over it. Some people will say, hey man, the best way to get over a chick is to get on top of another one. These kind of slogans, these kind of metaphors is what lends us, because guess what? Just because you got on another one didn't mean that you're over the one that you was with. You might be tired. I listened to a comedian today, and he was saying he was going to divorce his wife, and his wife had supported him all that time. And what occurred was he had finally made it, and they was at the point where they were separated. And as he sat there, realizing that he made it, he said to himself, I can't even share this with the person that I planned to share this with all this time. He said, as soon as he finished, he flew right back home and told her that, listen, we need to fix this because things is looking up for me, and I owe you. I owe you this for what we agreed for from the beginning, for holding me down to get here. Now that was profound to me, but many men will not take that because, you know, they might not stand on their word, or they might not have meant what they said. But I when I heard him saying, I thought it was that is what men do. They stand on their word. Many men stand on their word of what they want to do. And then you do realize that listen, I might be at this great space doing all this stuff, but I'm not going to really be happy because this is not the plan that I had to be happy doing. Not with as he described, he was in Miami and the ladies had the coconuts. And so he said he couldn't even enjoy the coconuts because he was thinking about he should really be there enjoying that with his wife. And so
I hear that.
That these are the kind of things we have to come to grips with and realize what what is as a man, as a father, what is our character, what is our values, what are we saying, because that also is a part that plays on the stress that makes us numb when we don't stand by what we believe in and we do what is conformist to the society. And I think a lot.
I know, I'm good. I'm glad you said that. I was sitting here thinking, because I was in a training at my job last week. It was called trauma-informed care, right? You know me, and this is my history of mental health. Ron, I'm a beast when it comes to mental health. I'm 50% for mental health and 50% against it, right? 50% for the reality and 50% against the history of it. Now, I know they don't expect Black people to learn at these tables, but let me just tell you what I've learned on my own, right? Because I love these narratives. And Teeny said it unintentionally and unconsciously, because that's the narrative I'll be waiting for at these conferences. I'll sit there and I'll wait for like a prowling lion. So I'll just be waiting on it. So I'm like, go ahead, just say it. Just say any of it. Say any of them Black stereotypes about our community and mental health, and I'm gonna pounce on you like a Bengal tiger. And so, and you should wait for it, because one thing about it, I said, God ain't born me Black for nothing. I wasn't born Black for nothing. I was born Black with reason, and my reason is to be at this table at this particular moment. And so, what I heard, and to your point, Teeny, I think there's a cultural misunderstanding that the fact that when we're talking about self-care or in certain aspects, selfish, you understand? Because you got to understand, our culture, I mean, is rooted in a village philosophy.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct.
So that's a village. We was, in matter of fact, one of the most potent words in our culture is Ubuntu, U-B-U-N-T-U, which simply means I am because you are. Yeah. You understand? And so when you're rooted in that, you understand? When you're rooted in that, always find empowerment, but never embarrassment. And I'm telling you, just know, but I won't give a damn how smart you think you are. You will never be smarter than me when it comes to my people. That's factual, because all I'm going to do is hit you with facts. And so I was insulted when I saw, again, this was pissing me off too. When I saw Oprah, because it's like they're not really looking for no Black psychologists like a Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who can feed Black people the right psychology they need and the therapy they need to really become their whole selves.
Gotcha. And
so I'm sitting there, and we want to get our cues from Oprah, right? And so Oprah's sitting on, and her clip made it to the training, which must have been one of the guys who came up with this trauma-informed therapy. Again, I'm disregarding what they're saying, but I'm not disregarding, or better yet, I'm not disregarding their treatment, but I'm not dismissing our mistreatment neither.
I hear
and
that.
So with this fact, because we're only talking facts right now, all I saw in that conversation was two things. I saw the most resilient person on earth, right?
What was the Oprah clip you're referring to?
It's she's talking about trauma-informed therapy. Okay. And so she's talking to this white therapist or doctor, whatever the case may be. And so she's coming to grips to realize some things about herself that this doctor, I guess, was obviously teaching her. Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time Oprah got on something and said some stuff I just totally didn't agree with. And so, and again, just told me she didn't know herself. She was so impressed with who they were. And this is what pisses me off about her. She's so impressed with who they are. You know, she devalue who she is.
I hear that.
And so their psychology starts to have all the equity. You understand? And her history has all the disparities. Yeah. That's all. And so, and I'm like, until somebody genuinely calls her out on it. But, and again, because maybe she's just wounded in that way. You understand? Being where she's at and not expecting to get to where she's at. There may even be levels of trauma that come along with that she don't want to admit to. But the problem is this, and this is the problem I have with mental health in Black communities, and I mean this until the day I die. The problem I have with mental health in Black communities is because before you can come to a Black community with your treatment, you got to take accountability for the mistreatment of your practice. And nobody never calls out there because you don't know the history of mental health in society, and particularly in Black society. You understand? So I'm like, I'm not impressed when white people come up with curriculums, you understand, to execute in Black communities. Why? I'm not impressed with that. I'm like, because that's how it's always been. So what have changed? If you're a Black therapist using a white curriculum, what has really changed? You understand? They're just teaching you how to make you, well, you're the guinea pig still, but they're just making you the chief guinea pig to make other guinea pigs. And so I'm saying, no, you can't do mental health in Black communities until you first address, you can't do mental health treatment in Black communities until we first address the mental health mistreatment in Black communities. You call them out, I don't give a damn what they at with it. You call them out because other than that, the average Black intellectual person will never do it. They'll just sit there and guess what they would do? The first thing they go for is the disparities of the Black community. Oh yeah, that we think going to church and do this. Everything that literally historically helped us go from slavery to civilization, we criticize now.
Interesting.
You understand?
I get that point. Because
don't do it around. I'm being honest. I'm like, never do that around me. Because you will get killed the hell.
I hear you on that because we do that.
Dr. Jun Foods and all that other stuff. I'm like, hey man, and think about all these brilliant Black psychologists who been exist. You understand? We get dragged in, and then all of a sudden we get white permission, right? To talk about define something we always been defining. We'd rather use their curriculum than our culture. Seriously, we would rather understand their curriculum more than we understand the psychology of our culture. And we sit there, oh, we never did this. I'm like, oh, hell, you didn't. You're the most resilient people on earth. You understand? But you got Oprah sitting there and this white guy. And I mean, he's just sitting there and he's sitting there unknowingly body language with a sense of entitlement. You understand? Because she's giving all her empowerment to his entitlement. You understand? And so, go ahead.
No, if I may jump in, and sometimes in those surroundings, we end up, instead of showing our strength, we end up being numb.
Correct.
Because we should talk, we should express what's going on, and we don't say anything, so we're numbing that situation. Just coming back to the topic, but go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
No, and so in this discussion, all I seen was two things in two conversations. I saw the most resilient person on earth, right? Talking to the most radical person on earth. You understand? Now I'm like, now you figure out which one that is. Because I said the sad part about it is Oprah Winfrey really should have been teaching him. No, she should have. Because guess what? Her history demands it. And she don't even realize her own reality. And so she's used to being a glorified victim. And that's her platform. It took me a while to realize that. I'm like, wait a minute, you're nothing but a glorified victim. You came this far to be a glorified victim. And so you can get people on here saying stupid stuff like, and then get bold when it comes to her own culture. And I mean, bold when it comes to her own culture. I'm like, first of all, and I'm talking about just Black leaders sometimes, some of them, not all, but I'm like, why do Black leaders feel comfortable talking reckless to Black people and respectful to white, right? And so since that pisses me off, and it does, and anytime I see it, I'm gonna call it out. I'm sitting here like, hey, she don't mind telling you, like, Black, knowing that I'm like, we're deep rooted in our history when it comes to spirituality and how spirituality again took us from slavery to a free society, and she'll get her behind on TV and says these words. Well, I don't believe. I mean, said it emphatically. I don't believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven.
Yeah, that's what she's been preaching for the last 50 years on TV.
And I'm saying to myself, at least if you don't believe it, still be respectful of it.
Gotcha.
You understand? I said, but because you think Black people are attached to it or so attached to it, you feel like it's no problem for you to disrespect it, but you around here praising this idiot who caused you more trauma, you understand, than treatment. But all of a sudden he's telling you, I got you. Now, I did say earlier that snakes can produce the antidote. You understand? Hold on. I did say they can produce the antidote. You know, what they call it. It's another word to use.
The antidote for the poison. Yes.
Yeah, what they call it. Not antidote, but it's called. It's like an antivenom. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
They can. What is the antidote? The antivenom for the very thing that bit them. You understand? But I'm like, yeah, but I don't think they're going to be the doctor. And so when it comes to being the scientist who discovered that, you understand, it doesn't change the snake pedigree. You understand? But you really should be focusing on the scientists who actually came up with that discovery as opposed to praising the snake.
Listen, Ron, we're gonna let Minister Lightborn continue on here. I appreciate that.
Well, let me say that I see that Gene is here. I don't know if Gene wanted to say something. We getting close to the end mark. Gene, good night, welcome.
Good night, fellas.
Good night, bro.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah, I couldn't chime in earlier. I was watching on YouTube. I was giving you guys the views and whatnot. But I was listening to what Lightborn was saying just now, and I'm in agreement with that. I think oftentimes we the psychology of the black person is not the same as the white person. I think we can adapt to the psychology of a black person with a black therapist, because there's the most important thing is the identifying markers in which a black therapist can identify with a black person because of the same traumas in which they experience. You know what I mean? And I think that's what Lightborn is getting at. In some aspects, you can't ask a white therapist to identify with a black patient because a lot of the times the traumas aren't the same. And so what end up happening is the sympathy to a black patient versus the empathy to the black patient. And so it's a completely different feeling to say, oh, woe is, I feel sorry for you, versus I understand what you're going through. And so that is a completely
But Gene, you see what you just said there? Because they can't. Is the problem of can't? Is the cultural incompetence that they can't say, I understand what you're going through. I can only feel sorry for you. And that's a thing making you less than. Like, there's no way that I can identify with you because you're not. This is so. It becomes so. It can get under your skin. It's done so subtly that I can't. It's never empathize. It's a sympathize. Because I can't empathize with you because I'm on another level than you, and I never experienced what you experienced. When that's not true. When the true reality is you're using it in a deficit idea. No, you can't handle. I say you can't handle the type of things that I experienced. So you would rather just sympathize because you would never be able to empathize, because when you would have to experience what I have to experience, you would crack. It's over. It's over for you.
Exactly. Like they say, no rich man wants to experience poverty because they will never be able to handle it, right? And they say, I can't remember who this woman was, but it was a white woman who was having a conversation with the room full of of Caucasian people in the room, talking about the trials and tribulations of the black plight, so to speak. And then she said, knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, how many of you would still want to trade places with a black person, right? Raise their hand. And she goes, the fact that you didn't raise your hand speaks volumes. That even though you know, or you say to yourself, it's not right what they're going through, you still wouldn't want to experience it. And I think it goes to what you were saying, Ron, to the fact that they don't want to experience what we go through because of the fact that they could not handle what we go through. It's important, and I to go to what Lightborn was saying, oftentimes as the Black culture, we're taught to handle things at a deficit, right? While other cultures are taught to handle things at a how can I say, uh, as a rite of passage, so to speak. I guess for lack of a better way to phrase it, right? So you're going through bad times, but it's not always going to last for you. You just got to make it through, and you'll be a better person on the other end. Whereas with the Black person, it's like you just got to learn how to handle this because another tough time is going to come for you, and so you just got to be able to handle it and move forward.
Right.
And it's two separate mentalities that you're teaching when it comes to that. And I think it's very important that we, as a people, as a people, just like not even as a Black people, but just as a group of people in the same room, understand and address that issue. Because until you start to teach everyone or start to teach Black people to handle things as a stepping stone, you will always be teaching to handle it as a deficit.
But I'm gonna tell you something else, and thank you, Gene, for that analogy, because it was something that I noticed in that training too. And again, I'm like, listen, every training ain't for me. I'm gonna find my pros and cons in all of it, so it's not gonna get high marks for me. And the reason it's not gonna get high marks for me is because they had this Black lady in there, and I think again they're very strategic because they want to be relatable. And so they had this Black lady in there who had been, I guess by all accounts, a notorious crackhead. And so what they were trying to say, because this was the takeaway theme for the whole thing, trauma informed care, was the main question is like, don't ask people what's wrong with you. Ask people what happened to you. You understand? This is the kind of, and I'm saying to myself, I am not totally against it. I'm against it, but I'm not totally against it, and here's why. Again, I'm not gonna see like what everybody else is seeing. I'm seeing like, wow, this is amazing. So y'all use this Black lady to push your narrative. You're using this Black lady to push your agenda because this Black lady was resilient enough by probably by the grace of God first, and whatever support she had, and then whatever therapy you guys may have given her. But at the same time, they're using this lady and they're saying, when they was giving her different things and treatment and trying to help her, they was using male therapy. You're gonna love this part, Ron. Male therapists, in which one of them, she said one of them raped her. I'm not sure how true it is because I didn't get it.
There we go.
But no, I'm just using that part. But she did throw that in there.
Yeah, I'm sure, because that's all part of the. Listen, and oh my God, Lightborn, and this is what I was just saying. It is the whole dog and pony show.
Correct.
That becomes this thing that, see, your trauma also only comes from you and from the people that you're around. None of your trauma comes from anything I ever did to you. I'm here to help you.
But no,
a lot of talking about trauma is based on this system that you made up to put me in. I didn't smoke crack because crack was fun and I enjoyed it. I smoked crack as an escape from what I was facing. If I didn't have to face that, I wouldn't have smoked the crack.
And now okay, so you hitting right on my point. This is the part where they didn't, and I'm like, wow, you guys are quick to push this narrative out there that if she was a rape victim, right, that she should have never been seen by a male therapist. You see that? Now that's
not true though.
No, but you understand. But if she was, because they were saying we should always acknowledge people's triggers. You see how that works? And so I'm like, oh, I said, okay, good. I have triggers. Now, because what I'm going to do is take the mirror and turn it right back on them. I'm like, so you're saying that she shouldn't be seen by from this point on because of whatever experience she had with a male therapist. And so you're saying because of our history with a male therapist, right? Then it should actually give me that same what they call that leadway when it comes to white therapists. You understand? Because I'm like, historically, white people can't be my therapist and my rapist. And historically, you're my rapist. You understand? And I'm talking about up to like 1970 something. So historically, you are my rapist, and you can't be my rapist and my therapist. Now, and I'm saying that because on the same understanding you gave to her, you understand, when it came to her trauma, you understand, you still would have to give the same from a sexist standpoint, her trauma from a sexist standpoint, you still have to give me that same acknowledgement about my trauma from a racist standpoint. And so much so that the studies have been shown that even resilient, the most resilient, educated Black people who have achieved the high 10% or higher echelon of being doctors, lawyers, therapists, scientists, and all the other stuff, still suffer from the psychological traumas of racism. And so if you can't own that from a racist perspective, you understand, then why even bring up the sexist perspective of it? And so they was taking credit and demonize the fact that sexism can be play a part in triggers and traumas. But I'm like, but so do racism. And until my thing is, I'm going to always tell, you don't get my other 50% until you legally and emphatically and therapeutically diagnose racism as a sickness. That's my ask.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm done.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, like, Born. I know there's a doctoral student who actually put that and wants that to, and so her thesis was all about racism, not just racism, but slavery, and how it should be a DSM within the DSM book. So I don't know how far they're gonna move on that, but I know there is movement towards it because people are recognizing the fact that slavery still holds its trauma within the culture. And I was actually having a conversation. I was giving a slight presentation, and I was like, we were talking about Juneteenth, right? So Juneteenth happened in what, 1865? I said 100 years later, you got what, 1965? 1965, they're fighting for the same things that they were fighting for in 1865: equality, and freedom, and still those things, right? So then I said, you for that 100 years later, right, and you're going to 2065, right? Yet we're here in the present, still trying to get the same things from 1965. And we're moving forward to 2065 with the same arguments and issues that we've had since 1865. Mm-hmm. So it's never going to stop, right? It's never going to, for me, it's never going to stop. It's never going to change until you change the embedded racism within the social aspect of everything that's going on. And so once you change that, you can start. I didn't say you can change everything right away. You can start to change the way everything is viewed. But until you start to make those socially embedded racism, that's the changes there, you'll always be fighting the same fight all the way until what, 3065, 4065, and onward, because it's a system that's in place that holds you back. It's not an individual. The individuals, and you got to think about it. The individuals who were alive in 1865 were no longer alive in 1965. But you're still being held down.
Right. It should have been the idea that, hey, if present today you're not affected by what happened to you, then why is it still the same situation?
Exactly.
But Ron, we got to be careful too to not let. We got to be careful not to let our traumas override our triumph.
Right.
And because of that, and we got to be very, because again, we'll find ourselves collectively being what Oprah Winfrey is individually, glorified victims. And so we have to make sure that our triumphs always supersede our traumas. The trauma was just the injury. You understand? but the triumphs of the independence that we continue to achieve on a daily basis. Because when I start to look at movies like Sinners and stuff like that, and you're the front run of the theaters. You understand? That never existed. You're leading the world, and that's not just American thing. That's a worldly thing. And so you're leaving the world, leading the world in a lot of firsts. Yes, Tyler Perry was the first to have, his own as an individual to do what MGM did as a collective. You understand? So the fact that we can triumph the way we are all that got to always be the front running narrative, but still hold the trauma accountable when it's time to. And that's something that wisdom is going to have to govern us on.
Right.
And unfortunately, that oftentimes still leads us to being numb while still trying to be strong.
Right.
Pulling us back to our topic for the night.
Well, I think that statement is the best to end tonight's conversation, because what you said was right. This whole point was to talk about us being numb and why we're numb, and we've went around the world on the idea. We went micro all the way to macro in this conversation right now, and I think that it was a fruitful conversation. I would like to, again, thank the fathers who participated tonight. And if you're watching, I know that I'm looking at the people that was watching. I know they probably really enjoyed it. I've seen that it was on there hard, listening on Facebook and on YouTube. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the button so you can become a part of getting the notification when we are having these conversations as fathers. We definitely want to thank let's acknowledge some sponsors for tonight's show. We know that our main sponsor, I guess I lost my sponsorship paper. when I went out. That's what happens when you go out. You go out for 1 minute, you're gonna get sponsorship. But don't worry, we're back. We have a sponsor, our main sponsor, that's Jag. Attorney at law. You can always find him. He's servicing Miami-Dade, Broward County, West Palm Beach. If you need to get in contact with him, there is definitely ways to go and search your phone. He offers a slew of law services.
And he's going to eventually let you see the phone number.
And if you actually want to get in contact with him, you can hit Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. And his email is j.gaspar@jag1law.com. Phone number, like I like to say, 305-827-8087. You figure I might even know this phone number by heart soon. And if you just want to go to the website to see what type of services he has and what he practices, is www.jag1law.com. That's our key sponsor, Johnny Gaspar, the sponsor of the Fatherhood Think Tank. With that being said, fathers, if you would join me, we have a good old-fashioned chant saying tonight. I'm about to say what we really got tonight is we got a kind of like an old school. We got like an old school group for the we got the old school group for the chant. So Father, you repeat after me. I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a
I
man.
am
I am a man of respect.
I say, fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You
You
are.
are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
We are
Championship
championship fathers.
And with that being said, we carry our children on our arms and our world on our back and our families on our back. And we'll be here again next week, same time, same channel, Fatherhood Think Tank. Another interesting topic with very interesting fathers who will give you the truth, the fact, and their experience in fatherhood. With that being said, thank you everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll see y'all here back next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
All right, fellas, y'all have a good night.
All right, man. Yeah, good.